Tanks was next. That was terrible. Well, in the Marine Corps, they ask you what you want to be, and then they tell you what you're going to be. They give you an aptitude test. And my aptitude showed that I would be a good radio operator. So they sent me to radio school. Anybody know what Morse code is? Ah, yes. What's Morse code? Right here, blonde fella, good looking guy. Huh?
It's a communication using dots and dashes.
Right. Absolutely. Dots and dashes. The whole alphabet. Well, you learn these dots and dashes. I can still remember. I can spell that guy in Ramon back here. Is that what it is? I can spell that in da 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 dit. I just spelled Ramona. Well, I had to learn how to take this code. 30 words a minute. Now, a word, 30 words a minute. A word is a group of 5 characters. 5 A, B, C, D. That's 5 of them, whatever the, F, G, H, Z, whatever it is. 5 of those in a group is a letter. I mean, a word. So I have to take 30 words a minute. Well, what is 30 times 5?
150.
Huh?
150.
150 characters every minute. In this here, write it out. Well, most of the guys could type. I couldn't type. So those of us who couldn't type had to learn how to print. Well, try printing 30 words a minute, legibly. It's hard to do. So they taught me how to print the Marine Corps way. So that if I printed out a code, a message, the commanding officer could take it, give it to the decoder, and he could read it. It had to be legible, so he could read it and decode it and tell him what he said. We needed coffee and donuts, 5 o'clock, whatever. Anyway, so I had to print 30 words a minute. I still print today. I can't get it out of my system. When I write you a letter, it's print. And it's printed the Marine Corps way. So then, after I learned all that, I had to go to learn how to shoot a rifle and hand-to-hand combat, put bayonets on, all the stuff like that. And then after that, I went to San Francisco. Why would I go to San Francisco? I don't know. They put me in a hotel, and I lived in the middle of the city in a hotel room for 3 months, working in a radar outfit. But it was very nice. I thought, boy, I hope I'm here for the rest of the war. Well, I wasn't. Eating in restaurants, don't have to go stand in a chow line. I get to go order something and live in a hotel. Don't have to make the bed. The maid makes the bed. Just living it. But it didn't last. But it was a nice little vacation for me, and I did enjoy it. San Francisco is, in the summertime, is not a very nice place, though. You think it would be, but it's not. San Francisco doesn't get nice. Camp of Champions. Am I boring? I saw you yawn. Would you can't anymore help? No. It was intercepted. You better go to the sideline. He actually on the sideline. All right, I was in San Francisco. Yes, one good thing about San Francisco was where I worked. It was along the waterfront where the Folgers, MJB, all the coffee companies roasted their coffee. Now, if you want a nice thing in the morning, smell roasted coffee in the air. It is absolutely marvelous. I don't know if you drink coffee. Even if you don't drink coffee, the smell of the roasting coffee is terrific. Besides that, every morning there would be a cutest blonde with dark eyes. We rode this truck on the benches in the back of this big truck. And I would sit there and I wouldn't look at her. Anyhow, that was nice for a while. But after that, I got on a ship and I went to the island of Oahu, where we got off the ship, Pearl Harbor. Got on another boat, went over to Hawaii, the big island. That's where our division, the 5th division. The 5th division was the 26th, 27th, and the 28th regiment. A division is 3 regiments. A regiment is 3 companies. So forth down the line. We were stationed on the island of Hawaii. I don't know if you're familiar with the island of Hawaii, but if you're not, look it up. It's interesting. You got Mauna Kea, big volcano, and Mauna Loa. Okay, and in between the land is like this. And we lived right up there on the top. Anybody know what the largest cattle ranch in the country is? Oh, well, you're going to learn something today. It's on the island of Hawaii, the Parker Ranch. It's bigger than the King Ranch in Texas. So we were stationed there on that island, and it was very cold up there. And it was so cold that we didn't have any hot water. I had to take cold showers. A lot of the food we ate was cold. And it was tough. But anything to do with war is tough. Even living in a paradise like Hawaii, on the top of a mountain where it's cold, we're down by the beach, it's nice and warm. Remember one time the natives over there on the island of Hawaii, and there wasn't a lot of tourists there at that time. In fact, it wasn't a tourist island in those days. Oahu was as touristy as you could get, Waikiki Beach, and so forth. But the natives gave a barbecue for us. Now the way they barbecue in Hawaii is they take a pig and they build a fire in the ground, and they put this pig in the ground and cover it all up, and about a day or so later they go get it up and it's all cooked. Now, I don't know how they do it, but it is absolutely unbelievable. You can't believe how good it is. So they did. They gave us some barbecue one time. It's the only thing that was nice about living at the camp on Hawaii was the barbecue that the natives gave to us. We were there for a time training. I had to go back over to Oahu, where I was in a place called Camp Catlin, where we trained how to operate a radio in connection with a ship, to order gunfire from the ship to the shore. And we had to go out to another island to do that, because you can't fire ships on Oahu. You have to go out to a little island named Kahulaui. Look it up on the map, Kahulaui. You know, it's interesting because those languages over there, every vowel is pronounced. If you see some guy's name, it's K-A-H-I-A-U-O-S, whatever, every vowel is pronounced. away from the target naturally, and our spotter would direct the fire from the ship to the shore to the target. He was connected to us by our telephone line, and we were connected to the ship by a radio. So the spotter would tell us up so many yards, right or left so many yards, down so many, or right or left, whatever, direct fire to this target. And that's what we learned to do. And when we learned that, then we started qualifying the crews on the ships that fired the gun crews. So after we learned all that, we were ready for battle. So we went back to the big island of Hawaii, got all our gear together, came back to Ford Island, Pearl Harbor, and got on a ship, and we went to the Marshall Islands. Anybody tell me one island in the Marshall group? Anybody heard of Guam? Anybody heard of Saipan? Anybody? It's got Tinian. Saipan, Tinian, and Guam, they're all in the same country. We landed, we did a practice landing on Tinian, and from there we went to Iwo Jima. Now, Iwo Jima was a very close island to Japan. Now, why did we go there? We had to take it because we needed a place for our fighters to protect our bombers. You know, it's interesting. I got to stop right here and I got to tell you something. It's interesting. Today, we're talking about Japan, fighting Japan. The warlords of Japan were the ones who were determined to have a war against the United States. It was not the people of Japan. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I think it's necessary now because I'm going to talk about the battle a little bit. The people of Japan. I went to Japan after the war, and I was in the occupation. For about 9 months, I was in Japan. I got friends in Japan. I learned the language in Japan. I thought Japan was a wonderful place. The people were great. They're no different than you and me. But they had a government, warlords, who took over and had this war started. It's not the people. Japan is today our friend. I'll get to that a little bit later too. But the Japanese people were great. Absolutely fun. Where was I? Oh, I hadn't gotten the battle yet. Okay, well, we'll go back and we'll get the war done. We landed and we did a practice landing on Tinian. We went to Iwo Jima. Why did we go there? Because we had to take the island. Because we had to protect our bombers who were going over bombing the war factories in Japan so that we could win the war. I mean, there's no choice, you know, you either win or lose. You know, there's no in between. World War I, there was an armistice, and it was the end of the war, and the Allies won. So, we get to Iwo Jima. It's D-Day. What's D-Day?
Like Doomsday? It's like
No, June 6th is when they went into Normandy.
yeah, like
Yeah, D-Day is the day you go ashore. Right. You're right. D-Day is the day you do your landing. H-hour. What's H-hour? H-hour is the hour you go in. Well, H-hour started for us about 8 o'clock. I went in about 8:15. Went into the colonel's boat because I was attached to headquarters. And I was in a small personnel carrier boat. I thought, I'm with the colonel, I'll be okay. So, they shoot colonels too, and they shoot everybody. So I went ashore, and of course there were thousands of us. Carried a radio, half a radio, half of it was the transmitter, half is the receiver, and the guy that got the receiver has to carry the generator, which is a bench with a big generator, everything. It's got cranks on it, goes like this, and you generate electricity to run the radio. That's what we had to use in those days. There wasn't anything like they have today. She's got a pad there, you got the little things. I mean, it's unbelievable what we have today for communication. But in those days, all we had was this great big old radio. It had tubes in it, you know, tubes. Vacuum tubes. They heat up, they get hot. But anyway, we go ashore and the battle is on, and there's mortars, aircraft fire, small arms fire, all kinds of cannons going off at you. You have to get up this, land on the beach, and it's all black sand, and there's like a dune, it goes up like this and it gets flat. It's about 15 feet, 12 to 15 feet high. It was it had so much weight that you step up 2 steps and fall back 1. You know, I mean, it was hard to get up this thing. I was 6 feet 2, weighed 155 pounds. How many of you guys are 6 feet 2? Anybody 6'2"? How much you weigh?
142.
Yeah, well, see, when you're young, you're thin, but you're all muscle. And I can tell you're all muscle. You're like barbed wire. Well, you are. When you're that age, you can do a lot. I mean, you can imagine 6'2", 155 pounds. They got guys 6 feet 2 on football, weigh 250 for crying out loud. Well, anyway, we were strong young men, and we carried this equipment. We got up on the top, and we start to airfield 1. That's what we're supposed to take, because that's what our objective was, to take the #1 airfield. #2 airfield was up on the north, about a mile away, not quite a mile. On the left was Suribachi. What's Suribachi? Huh? That's the mountain on the end, right. That's where they raised the flag. Now, how many of you are familiar with the flag raising on Suribachi? Oh, quite a few of you. Good. Well, the picture you see, or the monument you see, is a result of the second flag. And there's a story going around, and I know a few years ago, that was all staged and everything. It wasn't staged. You don't stage anything in a battle. The guy took the picture as it happened, actual happening. He didn't even know what he had for 2, 3, 4 days after that, because there was no way to develop the film. It had to go back to Guam to be developed to see what it was. Somebody talked to him on the radio and said, "Man, you got a heck of a picture." I did. What was it? He had to tell him about it. But I saw the first flag go up. That was the second flag. The first flag was kind of small, and they wanted a bigger flag because they wanted everybody on the island to be able to see it, because it was a morale booster. You got guys down there getting killed all over the place. What do we fight? Well, there's the American flag on that. Boy, that's great. We're doing good. So there was a little lull, and I had borrowed the colonel's glasses, and I was looking up at Suribachi, and I just, hey, so the first flag was going up, a little small flag, but I could see it, and I said, "Hey, Colonel, they're putting the flag up on Colonel Suribachi." So he goes, takes the glasses like that. The last I saw of anything, but I did see the flag go up. But of course, he wouldn't give me the glasses back. He's a colonel, and I'm a private first class. And they make more money than we. My income was $27 a month. Yeah, $27 a month. That's what we got paid. We sent half of it home, or more than that. Some guys gamble it all away. I'm not a gambler. Well, anyway, part of the 3rd Division. So there was a lot of guys on that island. And we made our way, but the Japanese were underground. They dug tunnels and caves and everything. And they were hard to get out. And you'd be going along, and all of a sudden, you'd hear fire from the back. And some guy comes out of a cave and starts shooting at you. So we had to get them out of the caves, out of everything. We had 6,000 people of our Marines killed. Japan had 22,000 men on that island. Almost all of them died. That's a lot. They were doing what they were told to do. We were doing what we were told. But if we hadn't won the war, that's what we'd be speaking today, probably. Who knows? Anybody know what I said?
We'd be speaking.
Huh?
Did you say we'd be speaking that language?
Huh? I didn't say any cuss words. I really didn't learn any cuss words. I'm sure. But it was very difficult, to say the least. One story I will tell you. As we worked our way north and the battle was coming to an end, we were on cleanup operations. And after the Marines secured the island, we would turn it over to the Army, and the Army would occupy the island. A couple of days or so before the Army took over, we were cleaning out some caves, and you know, we live in a marvelous country because people from all over the world send their kids here to go to our colleges and universities, don't they? Huh? You know that? They come from all over the country, all over the world. Why do they come here? Because we have good colleges and universities, and they learn more, I guess. Maybe they got a lot of money. But anyway, they do. They send their kids here to be educated, and we did go to one cave. We got this young fellow out. He came out, full uniform, and I guess he didn't want to die for the emperor like most of them did. They were told to die for the emperor. You know, we're told to die for our neighbors and our loved ones. Not them. They were so brainwashed they died for their emperor. I wouldn't die for an emperor. I might die for you, but I wouldn't die for an emperor. Anyhow, the guy came out, and I had my dictionary, and I was going to ask him his name, rank, and serial number, because in the war, if you're captured, that's all you give. Your name, rank, your serial number, nothing else. So I said, they brought him out, I said, what is your name? He says, you don't have to speak that to me. He said, I speak perfect English. I said, really? He says, yeah, I graduated from UCLA. I heard one of the guys back to me, click, put on it, you're going to shoot it. Cocked his gun. I said, hold on. Take this man back to G2. And G2 is intelligence. You see, G2, that means intelligence. That's where it all, take all, everybody, and they interrogate it, they write everything down, put them in prison or whatever. We treated our prisoners well. The prisoners they took, they didn't treat them. That's another story. So anyway, we secured the island, we're going back. Going back, and I get on board ship. Well, actually, before we went back, I got a couple minutes here, right? We've been eating K rations. Now, K rations are really bad. K rations are terrible. Potted meat and cheese that's It's like eating Play-Doh. And there were places in this island, I didn't tell you about this yet, where we put our cans in the mud to heat them up because it was sulfur. We heated our food in a pot of meat. We didn't eat very well. We didn't sleep too well either. But anyway, when the Army came ashore, they brought all these K rations down. I mean, C rations. We've been on K rations for all this time. So what I did was I got another fella, and we got us a Jeep, and we drove over to the Army dump, or they call it a dump. That's where they keep all our ammunition, all our supplies, all our rations and everything. They just call it a dump. They put it here at the dump. It's not really a dump, what we think. Anyway, we went there, and I started picking up these boxes. We loaded up this Jeep with cartons of C rations to take back to our people. And the guy come up, he says, "You can't take those, you can't take those." You gotta be kidding. I said, "We're taking them." So we took all these rations back to our guys, and you know what we had? Canned butter. Weenies and beans. Oh. Terrific. I mean, C rations were like a banquet after you've been eating K rations. Look it up sometime. You'll see it. Look it up on the web. So anyway, that was interesting. And then we had the first shower we had in over a month. Because the CBs, you know what CBs are? Anybody know what CBs are? The Navy had what they call the CBs, Construction Battalion, CB. But they were known as the SEEBEE, CBs. But it was really the letter CB. They were a construction battalion, and they'd set up all kinds of things. They did all kinds of things during the war. The CBs are fantastic. They built showers for us, brought seawater up, warmed it, I don't know how they did it, in showers. And we had saltwater soap. Soap, the regular soap you have in your house, will not lather up in salt water. But there's a saltwater soap that we can get lathered up. So we did have showers, the PCBs put in. So we all took showers. That's fantastic. Showers and C rations. How good could it get? Since we were still alive, too. Got on the ship, went back to Hawaii. Went back to Hawaii, trained again for another invasion. Now, what was this invasion for? Anybody tell me? You, what? Huh? Actually, right. Absolutely. We were going to have to invade the island of Japan. However, Harry Truman saved my life. Who's Harry Truman? President who took over after Roosevelt died, okay? What did he do? He made a decision to use a terrible weapon, the atom bomb. I don't know what you've ever heard about the atom bomb, or what you've ever heard about America using the atom bomb. But let me tell you the truth. The truth is, nothing in war is good. It's all bad, as far as humanity is concerned. However, when they used the atom bomb, they saved millions of Japanese lives and millions of American lives. Because had we invaded Japan, it would have been, well, they figured out 1.2 million casualties for America, and between 4 and 5 million for Japan. Yes, it was a terrible thing, but it saved lives, saved millions of lives by using the bomb. I hope they never have to use it again. vacation to Japan for the better part of a year. I was in the military police. We never had one problem with any Japanese person. And I'm talking about Japanese soldiers who just are getting out of the army, who we had been fighting. We didn't have one problem. The only problem we had was with a drunken Marine that couldn't handle himself. We had to arrest him. That's the only problem we had. The problem we have with our own people, not with them. But the Japanese people are very, very, what can I say? They're very intelligent people. They're very regimented. And they respect authority. Now, there's nothing wrong with respecting authority at all. Let me tell you, when we went to Japan and went ashore, we were the first on the island of Kyushu. First Americans on the island of Kyushu. They were afraid of us. They thought we were going to come in and rape their women and steal all our property and ruin everything. We didn't do it. You know why? Can anybody tell me why we didn't do that? Anybody? Come on, somebody can tell me why.
Would it have started more war?
Huh?
Would it have started more war?
No. Why did we not go into Japan? They had just been killing us. Why didn't we go in and rape their women and steal all our stuff? We are a Christian nation. We don't believe in going in and doing stuff like that. We are good people. As a matter of fact, when World War II was over, we had won over Japan, Germany, Italy. We were the world leaders. Did we take over their country? No. We gave it back to them. We gave it back to them. Now, what else did we do? Anybody know what the Marshall Plan is? Was? Marshall Plan.
Was that when we funded?
Huh?
Was that when we funded veterans with free college?
No. That was not the Marshall Plan. The Marshall Plan, okay.
Isn't that when we helped Japan rebuild their country?
Not only Japan, yes, absolutely. We not only, yeah.
So there's like a way for us to take up next wars.
No. The only nation that ever paid the United States for their debt was Denmark. We rebuilt Japan and Germany and Italy, part of it, with our own money. We not only won the war, we gave the countries back to them, and then we helped them rebuild their countries. Today, Germany is a world leader. Japan is a world leader. If the United States had not done that, and we'd gone in and imperialistically taken them over, like you hear people say, oh, the United States is an imperialistic nation. We're not imperialistic at all. We're a very generous nation. We not only won the war, we gave them their countries back. That's what makes history so interesting. There are people who try to change history. They're trying to change history right now over in Europe by telling, in some places, saying that the Holocaust never happened. You don't believe the Holocaust happened? You gotta be kidding. It's a proven fact the Holocaust happened. How could you tell people it didn't? Well, they're going to keep on telling it and telling it and telling it until everybody in the world believes it. But if you know history, you know what happened. You don't have to believe somebody that's trying to change history. But that's history. There are people who have tried to change history throughout history. let me end up by saying that history is probably the most fascinating subject that I've ever encountered. I don't like math. I don't need math. I have a grandson who is a genius at math. He got a scholarship to what do you call it? William up in Lewis and Clark in Oregon. Let him have it. Let the math go for the math. I'll take history anyway, because history is so fascinating. You find out how you got where you are. Now maybe at this point in your life you're not interested in finding out. No, I can understand that. I wasn't either. And I'm not telling you you should be interested in it. But someday you will be intensely interested in how you got where you are today. And you find that out by reading history. How many of you have read the biography of George Washington? Anybody? Oh, no, that's okay. How many have read the biography of Thomas Jefferson? Read about the fathers of your country.